What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm gonna be ranking Death albums, all their albums, all 7 of their albums. Death is easily one of the greatest death metal bands, progressive death metal bands to come out of Florida, or in general. Like, they are just so good, so consistent, so many bangers. I wanted to review one of their albums, but I figured might as well just rank all of them because they're all so tough, bro. So, honestly, let's just get right into it with a brief summary of Death. Death is an American death metal band formed in Florida in 1983 by guitarist and vocalist Chuck Schuldiner, the GOAT. So they're in the Florida death metal scene, of course, with bands like Obituary, Deicide, shit like that. Also drummer Cam Lee and guitarist Rick Ross. Those were the people who formed the band. But the lineup in this band changes literally all the time. Like every album, there's almost a completely new lineup, except for Chuck. Chuck always stays because he's just the toughest, bro. He's the toughest. He has one of the best voices in extreme metal, bro. I'm just say that. And their last album would release August 31st, 1998. And Chuck would pass away a couple years after on December 13th, 2001. So, but they had a great career. They had a long career. About like a decade. Yeah, about a decade long, a little over that. The subgenres, traditional death metal, progressive metal, technically progressive power metal. If you look at their band that they formed later on, it's like, I don't even remember what it's called. Hold up. Okay, the band is called Control Denied. This is his side project that he released formed in 1996. And pretty much, it's like a progressive power metal band with one album, right? But it's actually pretty fire. I mean, the playing, you can tell that it's definitely Death. It sounds very similar. So yeah, if you want more Death, go check that out. If you want more Chuck Schuldiner, go check that out. But enough yapping. Let's get into the actual rankings. My number 7 spot, their weakest album, in my opinion, is Spiritual Healing, released in 1990. Now, this is still a great album. Like Death, all their albums are very consistent. All their albums are great. This is their weakest album, and it's an 8 out of 10. This was the first of their albums to drop that actually had, like, progressive elements in it, like on certain songs, like Spiritual Healing, the 7-minute long song. There's also quite a bit of, like, tempo switches throughout here. So they were kind of venturing into progressive death at this time. And I just think this is their weakest progressive death album. They did the least amount of, like, experimentation on here. There are still some very cool lyrical themes, like societal and philosophical issues and shit. So it's more interesting than just talking about, like, gore and death and stuff like their first albums. But yeah, the album cover is also very tough. It's like that one doctor guy, like, grabbing that one guy's arm and about to do, like, a ritual on him or something. Yeah, classics on here. They got bangers like Low Life. Low Life is an underrated song. That's probably my favorite song on the album. Living Monstrosity talks about, like, a baby born addicted to cocaine. Like, it's such a fire song, bro. There's some underrated songs on here for sure. But overall, yeah, this is just their weakest and most forgettable. I don't go back to this album that often. So, yeah, that's my number 7 spot. Number 6, we've got Individual Thought Patterns. This album is quite similar to Spiritual Healing. It released in 1993, so in that early 90s era where they were first coming up on the progressive sound. Yeah, it's very similar to Spiritual Healing because its main themes are also, like, psychological and philosophical issues. But what I think this album does better is it has more important bangers to their overall category, overall catalog and discography and shit. Like The Philosopher. The Philosopher is a classic. That's a top 10 death song right there. You've got songs like Overreactive Imagination, Jealousy, Trapped in a Corner. Bangers, bangers, bangers. All their albums got bangers. This is known already. So, yeah, and I think they also do more interesting things on this album with song structure and just pushing more boundaries in general, because this was 3 years after they had started this progressive sound, so they're clearly a lot better now, and you can really see that. So, yeah, that's my number 6 spot. It could honestly be higher, but I just don't go back to it as often as some of these other albums. Realistically, the cover just didn't draw me as much. So I ended up, this was like their last album I listened to. I think the cover's like pretty cool, but it's just like the colors are like brown and gray, and their other albums are way more like vibrant and shit. So yeah, it just didn't really catch my attention. But my number 5 spot, I have Human, released in 1991. Yes, I have their first 3 albums of their 90s run as their worst albums. Honestly, these are just the ones I go back to the least. That's why they're here. They're all very great. This is a very influential technical death metal album, progressive death metal album, and was one of the, at the time, these were one of the only bands really doing this, besides, like, Atheist. I think Cynic came out with their debut in, like, 1992. So yeah, this was the first band doing it at this time, so very influential, very important. Very short, consistent album, even for Death, with a runtime of about 33 minutes. And, you know, it's just great. Bangers on here include Lack of Comprehension, another top 10 Death song right there. That is a fucking banger. Together as One, Vacant Planets, like, they really just got so many bangers, bro. Like, they could play all of their songs live, and it would hit. Like, they could just randomize their discography, play it live, and it would go hard as fuck. Genuinely. So, yeah, that's all I gotta say about that one. That's my number 5 spot. So, number 4. This might come as a little bit of a surprise. Scream Bloody Gore is my number 4. I know a lot of, like, metal elitists have this as their number 1 because, like, oh, it's the first death metal album. Or it really depends what you consider the first death metal album. Because you've got, like, Seven Churches by Possessed. That was in 1995, though. Or wait, 1985, I meant. This was in 1986 or 1987. So, this did release after, but I think this album's way better. You could also say Seasons of the Dead by Necrophagia, but I don't know. I really don't know. It's still a freaking classic, bro. Extremely influential. And this is one of their most basic albums because it's one of the first death metal albums ever. So this is just some very traditional, thrashy death metal with some raw production, pretty basic playing, like I said, but that doesn't mean this album isn't very consistent. There's a lot of bangers on here. Zombie Ritual is a classic. Evil Dead, Regurgitated Guts, Sacrificial, Mutilated, Infernal Death, or I think that's what it's called. Yeah, I think. Bro, bangers! Bangers on here, very consistent. It's just, I think their other albums are better, personally. And the lyrical themes are obviously just gore and death. Very basic. But, yeah. Great album. Classic album. That's my number 4 spot. Number 3, I've got Leprosy. This is their second album, and the last album that's strictly traditional death metal. I actually did a review on this, like, quite a bit ago now. It's so shit. The review is really bad. I was just trying to pump out something because I hadn't dropped a video in, like, 2 weeks. Now I don't really care when I post, but yeah, I was trying to be more consistent back then. I think this album does everything Scream Bloody Gore does, but just way better. More interesting themes of death, like disease and the morality of assisted dying. This is shown on bangers like Pull the Plug, where it's talking about like a guy who's like on life support and stuff, and he wants to die. He wants to be gone. He wants him to pull the plug. One of the most classic death metal songs ever, bro. And also songs like Leprosy on here. Something about a casket. Bro, what song is that? There's a... Bro, I'm such a LARPer. Casket! I only remember that part, bro. Fuck. Well, yeah. Very consistent. And yeah, this was originally my number one. Every song on here is a banger, though. No misses. Choke on it. Choke on it. Yeah. So that's my number 3. My number 2 spot, Sound of Perseverance. This is a little bit of a basic pick, I feel like, because this is their most popular album. This is their last album released, and it's their most progressive, boundary-pushing one, though. This has some of their best, like, epic, long ballad-type tracks, like Flesh and the Power It Holds, Scavenger of Human Sorrow, Spirit Crusher. The album is very beautiful and emotional. There's not a single miss. Bite the Pain, even the Painkiller Judas Priest cover at the end of the album is pretty great. Voices of the Soul, their most popular song for no reason, bro. It's literally just an instrumental track, but it's still pretty beautiful. It's in the middle of the album. It's like a nice little space, a nice little breather in the middle. And yeah, I just think this thing is really great. Some of their best songs on here. Story to Tell, Bite the Pain, like, they got classics, bro. So, yeah, this is my number 2. R.I.P. Chuck, bro. This was his last album. They could have dropped even more classics after this, honestly. Like, shit's crazy to me. So, for my number 1, I mean, it's very obvious. It's the only album I haven't said yet. It's Symbolic. And another basic pick, everybody says Symbolic is their best, I feel like, but it's just so good, bro. Perfect mix of technicality, progressiveness, extremeness, banger, catchy songwriting. Like, it's the perfect mix. There's not a single miss on here. It's like 9 songs, around 40 minutes or something. Bro, so many iconic songs. Symbolic, top 10 death song right there. Crystal Mountains, top 10 death song right there. Zero Tolerance, Empty Words, 1000 Eyes. Bangers, bro. Bangers all over this thing. This is the best that Chuck's voice sounds, in my opinion. The album cover is very cool and very iconic with, like, the hands and, like, it's like some weird spiritual shit. But, yeah, bro. This is their best album, without a doubt. Death is in my top 10 bands all time easily. For consistency and just favoritism, I just love Death. I don't bump them as often anymore because they're a bit basic. This is like one of the first death metal bands I ever listened to. But easily one of the most memorable, bro. They stick in your head so much. I'll never forget this band. So, to quickly go over my list again. At number 7, I have Spiritual Healing. I think this is like an 8 out of 10. Individual Thought Patterns, number 6, 8 out of 10. Human, number 5. I'll give that like an 8.5. Scream Bloody Gore, number 4, 8.5. Leprosy, number 3, 9. 9, bro. Sound of Perseverance, number 2. Also a 9, and Symbolic, number 1, is a 10. Fuck. Well, yeah, that's my ranking. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If there's any other band discographies you'd like to see me rank in the future, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know any other content you'd like to see in the future. And yeah. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.